Hello and welcome to FM Review. I'm your host, Freddie Robinson. In this video, I'll be assembling the floor lamp with shelves that I bought at Walmart for $40. So this floor lamp comes with 3 shelves. The color is black and it takes up to a 100-watt bulb. So you have 12 of these lightweight black plastic rods. And here is your first shelf, and it's labeled shelf number 1, and it also gives you a warning that these shelves are rated to hold up to 1 pound. Here is shelf number 2, and this one has a maximum weight load of 5 pounds. Here is shelf number 3. It's way heavier and way thicker than the first 2 shelves, and I'm assuming this is the base because of its thickness and its weight, plus it's rated to support a weight load of 15 pounds. Here you have the top frame assembly, which will be housing your light, as well as the globe or the cover of the light. And this piece does include the wiring harness that connects to the bulb and plugs into your outlet. You do have a small bag of hardware, which looks to be screws and bolts, and a second bag of those plastic rods, which you do have the globe cover for the light. And finally you have the paperwork, which includes the assembly instructions and some steps on how to put this together. To assemble the bottom and the shelves, you'll start with the thick plastic base piece and the long pole, as well as the short thread screw and the long thread screw. So I have taken the plastic base piece and placed 4 short thread screws in the corners. And the next thing I'll do is attach the long poles to each one of these 4 screws with the hole in the bottom. Two. And for the next step, I'll be placing these long thread screws into the ends of these rods. And you can see that once I've finished, I have these long thread screws in all 4 of the poles, and it's ready for the shelf to be placed. Now I am ready to place this shelf onto those screws through this little hole area. And you can see once the shelf is put on place, there's enough of the thread left to connect the next pole into this. And you would just repeat the same steps that you did with the base by putting those poles on each one of these 4 screws that are remaining. And you just take each one of these and attach it to one of the 4 screws that's coming through the shelf. And now the shelf is starting to take shape, and you should see what the progress would lead you up to at this point. And just like earlier, you're going to take these long thread screws and place them into the bottom of these long poles in order to attach the next shelf. And you can see what it looks like once you have all 4 long screws into the ends of these long poles. Now you can see that the third and final shelf will be placed onto these through these little pre-drilled holes. And now you have these 3 shelves in place. And you'll take another set of 4 rods and tighten them down on the screws. And again, you will place these 4 long thread screws into the ends of all 4 poles. Now you have the socket board, and it attaches the same way that the shelves has, where you take these screws and put them in this little small area. And I'll take my knife and remove this foam covering from the wiring harness for the light assembly. And you can see what it looks like. You do have a screw-in socket for a light bulb, and it does have a pull chain. And you do have this little metal piece that goes into the hole here, and on the other side of the wiring harness is an area for you to attach a wing nut in order to hold this firmly in place. And now I'll just fasten this in place, putting the washer on top of the thread and tightening down the wing nut to hold this in place. And here you can see what it looks like once all of those steps are done. And for this step, you will be putting these 4 shorter poles on either of these 4 screws. Now it's time to take the lampshade out and place it into the area that it's designed for. Now the outside is a little bit rough and textured, kind of like cloth, whereas the inside is bright, shiny plastic material. Earlier when I was assembling the wiring harness, I noticed there was a hole in this top wiring deck. Now I realize that the chain that you would use to turn this on and off has a ball at the bottom, and it just goes through this little hole. And you can see it dangling down here, which makes it easy to turn the light on and off, and it just slides over like so. Now I put on the top plastic piece that holds the globe in place, and it tops off the shelf, keeping these legs sturdy. You'll notice that there's a hole on this side, and there is a hole on the other side which has a little cutout in it. Once you put the screws that are required to hold this in place, there is a cover that goes over that makes this kind of flush that hides the screws. For this you will need a Phillips screwdriver because each one of these 4 screws are small Phillips screws. Also, the inside of the shade will go inside of this little area here, and it gives it the shape and it holds it in place. And for this step, I am raising these up, lining them up with the screw holes, and then I'll go back later and tighten it up. And this is what it should look like once you have all 4 screws put in place and the plastic piece in place holding the globe. And the last thing to do is cable management. Remove the zip tie holding the power cord in place, and take the included zip ties and attach the cable to one of the legs. And you can see that the remaining wire that you have to plug this in is about 5 foot. And now take a 60 to 100 watt light bulb, put it in top, plug it up, and let's see how it looks. And now you see exactly how easy it is to put this shelf together. Thank you for watching. It's been another great FM review. Please leave a comment if you have any questions, and don't forget to subscribe.
3, 2, 1, action!
Ow, that hurt.